I grew up in my brother Ryan's shadow. While he took the so-called respectable path to corporate finance, I followed my passion for aviation mechanics. Our family never let me forget that choice. At our annual Thanksgiving dinner, the tension is always thick, but this year crossed a line when Ryan publicly humiliated me in front of everyone. Little did he know that my glorified mechanic skills would give me an unexpected power over his precious career. Before I tell you how I turned my brother's arrogance into his downfall, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And hit subscribe if you've ever been underestimated by someone who should have known better. I was born and raised in suburban Chicago, where my parents established a clear hierarchy of success. Academic achievement was everything in our household. My older brother Ryan, 3 years my senior, embodied everything they valued. He excelled in school, without seeming effort, graduating as valedictorian and earning a full scholarship to Northwestern University. Every conversation at dinner centered around his latest accomplishment, his next big goal, his promising future. Then there was me, Dion Walker, the younger son who could never quite measure up in traditional academics. It wasn't that I wasn't smart. I just processed information differently. While Ryan memorized formulas and theories with ease, I understood systems and mechanics intuitively, something our education system rarely rewarded. My father worked as an electrical engineer at a large manufacturing company, so you might think he would appreciate my mechanical aptitude. But he had fought hard to move from the factory floor to an office position, and he saw my hands-on interests as a step backward. My mother, a high school counselor, was even more explicit about what constituted respectable career paths: doctor, lawyer, engineer with a degree, or businessman. Anything else was settling. When I turned 15, everything changed for me. Our neighbor, Mr. Franklin, had an old Cessna aircraft he was restoring in his private hangar. Looking for some summer help, he offered me a job. The first time I held an aircraft component in my hands, something clicked. The complex systems made perfect sense to me, like I was reading a language others found incomprehensible, but that came naturally to me. While Ryan spent his summers interning at banks and building his resume, I worked with Mr. Franklin, absorbing everything about aviation mechanics. By the time high school graduation approached, I had made my decision. I would attend technical college for specialized aviation maintenance certification instead of pursuing a 4-year university degree. The announcement fell like a bomb at our dinner table. My mother cried. My father lectured me about wasting my potential. Ryan simply smirked already, seeing himself pulling further ahead in our unspoken competition. After technical college, I trained specifically in high-performance aircraft systems, earning every certification possible. While Ryan was climbing the corporate ladder at Hamilton and Burke, an elite investment firm in Chicago, I was building the foundation of my expertise, working under master mechanics who taught me things no classroom ever could. By 28, I had saved enough to start my own aviation maintenance company, Aerotech Solutions. I specialized in servicing private jets and high-performance aircraft for wealthy clients and corporations. The work was demanding and precise, with zero margin for error. One overlooked detail could mean catastrophic failure. I took pride in being trusted with million-dollar machinery, and often the lives of passengers. My reputation grew steadily. I wasn't just fixing planes. I was providing solutions that extended aircraft life and improved performance. My clients included celebrities, CEOs, and corporations who valued discretion as much as technical excellence. While not as visibly glamorous as Ryan's world of high finance, I built a profitable business doing work I genuinely loved. As our careers diverged, so did our lives. Ryan bought a penthouse in downtown Chicago, drove Italian sports cars, and dated models. I purchased a modest but comfortable home near the regional airport with a large garage workshop. He worked 80-hour weeks chasing promotions. I worked flexible hours as my own boss, taking fishing trips when weather permitted. He drank expensive scotch to manage stress. I slept soundly at night, knowing every aircraft I serviced was impeccably maintained. We saw each other only at obligatory family gatherings. Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving. Each time Ryan would find subtle ways to undermine my achievements. When I mentioned expanding my business, he asked if I was finally going to hire real engineers. When I talked about a challenging repair, he would interrupt with anecdotes about his latest business deal. Our parents beamed with pride at his stories, while merely nodding politely at mine. Over the years, I built connections with diverse clients, including several executives at North Star Aerospace, a manufacturer that specialized in precision aircraft components. These relationships were built on trust and mutual respect. When they had an issue other mechanics couldn't solve, they called me. When they needed honest answers about aircraft performance, they trusted my assessment. What they didn't know, and what I never mentioned, was that my brother's investment firm handled a significant portion of their financial planning and capital management. As different as our worlds seemed, they were about to collide in a way neither of us could have anticipated. The annual Walker family Thanksgiving was as predictable as it was uncomfortable. Mom spent days preparing a traditional feast while Dad boasted about Ryan to any relative who would listen. I always arrived early to help with preparations, while Ryan made his grand entrance just before dinner. This year followed the script perfectly. I had been at my parents' home since morning, helping set up tables and carrying chairs from the basement. Around 4 o'clock, the distinctive growl of a luxury engine announced my brother's arrival. Ryan pulled up in a brand-new Mercedes-AMG, the kind of purchase that would automatically trigger several dinner conversations. Sure enough, my Aunt Martha took the bait immediately. "My goodness, Ryan, what a beautiful car. Business must be booming." Ryan adjusted his tailored suit jacket with practiced nonchalance. "Hamilton and Burke just made me the youngest vice president in company history. The car is a little reward to myself." My mother practically glowed with pride. "Tell everyone about the announcement, honey." As we gathered around the dinner table, laden with turkey stuffing and all the traditional fixings, Ryan dominated the conversation. His promotion came with responsibility for several key client accounts, including a new partnership with one of the largest aerospace manufacturers in the industry. "It's a $16 million contract renewal," Ryan explained, carving his turkey with precision. "The board essentially told me this account is my path to making partner within the next 2 years if I handle it right." "That's incredible," my father said, raising his glass. A toast to Ryan's success. Everyone raised their glasses. I joined in half-heartedly, wondering if my parents had ever considered toasting one of my achievements. The conversation continued, revolving around Ryan's new position, the challenges of high finance, and the pressure of managing wealthy clients. After 20 minutes of this, I thought I might find a natural opening to participate. Speaking of aerospace, I said I just completed certification for the new Garrett turbofan engine systems. There are only 8 mechanics in the Midwest with this qualification. For a brief moment, I had the table's attention. Then Ryan chuckled, setting down his fork deliberately. "Get a real job, Dion. Everyone knows you're just a glorified mechanic," he said, his voice carrying that familiar condescending tone. "While I'm structuring multi-million-dollar deals, you're basically just changing very expensive oil." The table fell silent. My mother looked down at her plate. My father took a sudden interest in refilling his wine glass. Not a single family member spoke up to defend me or acknowledge the insult. "Excuse me," I said, quietly, placing my napkin beside my barely touched plate. "I just remembered an emergency call I need to make." I stepped outside onto my parents' porch, breathing in the cold November air. 8 years of building my business, countless hours of specialized training, and numerous certifications meant nothing to them. In their eyes, and especially Ryan's, I would always be the underachiever who took the easy way out. After composing myself, I returned for dessert, made polite conversation, and left as soon as reasonably possible. The drive home was filled with familiar thoughts about family expectations and the different paths Ryan and I had chosen. The following morning, I arrived at my hangar earlier than usual, finding solace in the ordered world of aviation maintenance. Around 10, my phone rang with an incoming call from James Harrington, the operations director at North Star Aerospace, one of my regular clients. "Dion, thank God you answered. We've got a situation with the executive transport. Something's wrong with the left engine, and we've got the board members scheduled to fly out tomorrow for a major meeting. I'll be there in 30, I assured him, already gathering my specialized tools. At the North Star hangar, James met me looking stressed. "None of our regular maintenance crew can figure it out. We're on a tight deadline here." As I inspected the Gulfstream's engine, James mentioned something that caught my attention. "These financial guys have us under a lot of pressure lately. We're up for our annual contract renewal with Hamilton and Burke next month. $16 million in financial services over 3 years is no small commitment." I nearly dropped my wrench. $16 million. The exact figure Ryan had mentioned at dinner. "Hamilton and Burke," I said carefully. "Are they handling your company's investments?" James nodded. "For the past 6 years. Though between us, the board's not thrilled with them lately. Their last quarterly strategy missed several industry-specific factors that cost us nearly $1 million in missed opportunities." I focused on the engine, finding a subtle compressor blade issue that the regular mechanics had overlooked. While working, James continued venting about their financial services provider. "They've assigned some hotshot young VP to our account who keeps talking down to our executives about aerospace economics like he's the expert. Frankly, the guy barely understands our cash flow cycles or capital equipment needs. After 3 hours of meticulous work, I had the engine running perfectly. James was impressed. "This is why we call you Dion. You understand our business in a way those suit-wearing number crunchers never will." He insisted on taking me to dinner as a thank you, where we were joined by Sarah Kennedy, Northstar's CFO. As we discussed aviation trends, the conversation inevitably turned to their financial challenges. "We're conducting a review of all our service providers," Sarah explained, "including financial services. I'm just not convinced Hamilton and Burke truly understands the aerospace industry's unique financial landscape." I listened carefully, facing an ethical dilemma. Should I mention my connection to Ryan? Would using this information be crossing a line? I decided to simply provide excellent service without bringing up my family relationship. "If you're considering alternatives," I said carefully, "I work with several clients who use Westbrook Financial. They specialize in aerospace and aviation financing." It was true. Several of my clients spoke highly of Westbrook, and I had no personal stake in the recommendation. I was simply sharing information that might help a valued client. Little did I know that this casual conversation would set in motion events that would dramatically change both my life and Ryan's. Over the next few weeks, my relationship with Northstar Aerospace deepened. After fixing their executive transport issue, I was called back to consult on a recurring mechanical problem with their testing equipment. The solution I provided saved them over $2 million in potential warranty claims. Impressed with my understanding of their business, James invited me to a strategy meeting where coincidentally their financial services were being discussed. The executives were openly expressing frustration with Hamilton and Burke's handling of their account. "They just don't understand our cyclical capital requirements," Sarah, the CFO, explained to the room. "We need a financial partner who recognizes that aerospace manufacturing doesn't follow standard quarterly projections." When asked for my input, I carefully shared what I knew about financial structures in the aviation industry from my perspective as a business owner. The most successful aviation businesses I work with have financial partners who understand that maintenance cycles, fuel costs, and regulatory changes all impact cash flow in unique ways, I explained. "It's not just about standard market analysis." The CEO, Robert Taylor, looked at me thoughtfully. "Dion, you mentioned Westbrook Financial last month. Do you think they might present an alternative proposal?" "We're conducting formal reviews next week." I provided my contacts information at Westbrook, careful not to oversell them. I simply stated facts about their aerospace industry expertise based on what my other clients had shared. A week later, I received an unexpected call from Robert. "We'd like you to attend our vendor review meetings as a technical consultant. Your perspective on how financial decisions impact operational capabilities would be valuable." I agreed, still not mentioning my connection to Ryan. This wasn't about my brother. It was about providing expertise in my field to a valued client. When I arrived at Northstar's headquarters for the meeting, I was directed to their main conference room. As I turned the corner, I came face to face with Ryan, who was arranging presentation materials at the head of the table. The shock on his face was momentary but unmistakable, before his professional mask slipped back into place. He clearly hadn't expected to see me in this setting, and seemed unsure how to acknowledge my presence without revealing our relationship. "Dion Walker, Aerotech Solutions." I introduced myself professionally, extending my hand as if we were strangers. After a moment's hesitation, Ryan shook it. "Ryan Phillips, Hamilton and Burke," he replied, using our mother's maiden name professionally. Now I understood why Northstar hadn't made the connection between us. The meeting began with Ryan presenting Hamilton and Burke's proposal for the contract renewal. He spoke confidently about market trends and investment strategies, occasionally glancing at me with barely concealed confusion about my role. When he started discussing aerospace industry maintenance costs, I noticed several inaccuracies in his figures. When Robert asked for my input, I politely corrected the technical details. "Actually, the new FAA regulations have increased mandatory inspection intervals by 30%, not the 15% that's factored into these projections," I explained. "And the component replacement costs listed here underestimate current market prices by about 20%. Ryan's confident demeanor faltered as I continued providing accurate industry-specific information that contradicted his presentation. With each correction, the Northstar executives exchanged glances. After Hamilton and Burke's presentation, Westbrook Financial presented their proposal. Their representative demonstrated detailed knowledge of aerospace manufacturing cycles and presented financial strategies tailored specifically to Northstar's operational needs. During the executive committee deliberation that followed, I was asked to provide objective assessment of both proposals from a technical operations standpoint. I focused solely on factual accuracy and relevant industry knowledge, careful not to let personal feelings influence my professional assessment. Based strictly on the alignment with aerospace operational realities, Westbrook's proposal accounts for industry-specific factors that appear to be overlooked in the other presentation I stated neutrally. 2 days later, Robert called to inform me that Northstar had decided to award their $16 million financial services contract to Westbrook Financial. He thanked me for my input and mentioned that my technical expertise had been influential in their decision. That evening, my phone lit up with a text from Ryan. "You sabotaged me. You knew exactly what you were doing." After considering various responses, I simply replied, "I just did my job well, like a glorified mechanic would." I set my phone down and felt a complex mix of emotions. I hadn't sought revenge, but I couldn't deny the satisfaction of having my expertise validated in such a meaningful way. For once, being just a mechanic had been exactly what was needed. News travels fast in close-knit business communities. Within weeks, word spread through Chicago, financial circles, that Hamilton and Burke had lost one of their biggest clients. While the specific reasons weren't public, rumors circulated about a failure to understand technical industry requirements. For Ryan, the consequences were swift and severe. He had been promoted largely on the promise of securing that contract renewal. Its loss reflected directly on his judgment and industry expertise, qualities that had been central to his professional identity. My phone rang one evening with my mother's name on the caller ID. I braced myself before answering. "Dion, what have you done?" she demanded without preamble. "Ryan says you deliberately interfered with his work and cost him a major account." I took a deep breath. "Mom, I was hired as a technical consultant by Northstar Aerospace, who happened to be reviewing their financial services providers. I provided factual information about aerospace operations. That's all." "But you knew it was Ryan's account," she pressed. "I discovered that during the process," I acknowledged. "But I was asked for my professional opinion, and I gave an honest one." "Would you have preferred I lie about technical facts?" There was a long pause. "Your brother might lose his position over this," she finally said, her voice smaller. "I understand that's difficult," I replied evenly. "But maybe this is an opportunity for everyone to recognize that different forms of expertise have value, even ones that don't come with prestigious degrees." The conversation ended tensely, but it marked the beginning of a shift in our family dynamics. Meanwhile, my reputation in the aviation industry continued to grow. Northstar referred several other aerospace companies to Aerotech Solutions, and I soon found myself in need of additional staff to handle the increased business. 3 months after the contract decision, I learned through industry contacts that Ryan had indeed been demoted at Hamilton and Burke. The loss of the Northstar account had removed him from the partnership track, at least temporarily. Our next family gathering was Easter dinner. The atmosphere was noticeably different, as Ryan arrived without his usual grand entrance or status symbols. His designer watch was replaced by a more modest timepiece, and he drove a practical sedan rather than his luxury car. Throughout dinner, the usual pattern of conversation was disrupted. When my mother asked Ryan about work, his responses were vague and brief. When my father inquired about my business, I spoke openly about expanding my hangar space and hiring 2 additional mechanics with specialized certifications. To my surprise, my Aunt Martha asked thoughtful questions about aircraft maintenance, and my father actually listened to my explanation of the certification process with apparent interest. It was as if the family had suddenly discovered that my profession involved more than just turning wrenches. After dinner, I was in the kitchen helping with dishes when Ryan approached me. His expression was uncomfortable but determined. "Can we talk?" "Outside," he asked quietly. We stepped onto the back porch, the same place where I had retreated after his insult months before. For a moment, we stood in awkward silence. "You could have told them we were brothers," he finally said. "Would you have done the same for me?" I countered. Ryan looked away. "Probably not," he admitted after a moment. "For what it's worth," I said, "I didn't go in planning to affect your contract. I was hired for my expertise, and I gave honest assessments." "Your expertise," Ryan repeated with a hint of his old condescension, though noticeably subdued. "I guess I never really understood what you actually do." "Most people don't," I acknowledged. "They think maintaining aircraft is just following manuals and turning wrenches. They don't realize it requires understanding complex integrated systems, regulatory compliance, material science, and predictive analysis. One mistake can have catastrophic consequences." Ryan nodded slowly. "I'm working at Meridian Capital now," he said, naming a smaller financial firm. "Smaller accounts, but I'm learning to really understand the industries I'm serving. Actually meeting with operations people, not just executives." It wasn't an apology, but from Ryan this admission represented significant growth. We weren't going to suddenly become best friends, but something had shifted in our relationship. 6 months later, Aerotech Solutions had grown to a team of 5 specialized mechanics with a reputation as the premier service provider for complex aviation systems in the Midwest. I expanded our facility and purchased specialized equipment that allowed us to service newer aircraft models. Ryan was gradually rebuilding his career at Meridian Capital now, with a focus on truly understanding the operational realities of his client industries. We occasionally exchanged professional emails when his work intersected with aviation finance. The irony wasn't lost on me that being just a glorified mechanic had fundamentally changed both our trajectories. By valuing my specific expertise and refusing to accept Ryan's dismissive judgment, I had not only advanced my own career but also perhaps helped my brother become better at his. I've come to realize that true success isn't about impressive titles or status symbols. It's about mastering your craft so thoroughly that your expertise becomes undeniable. Sometimes those who appear most successful are standing on the shakiest foundations, while those doing unglamorous but essential work are building something truly valuable. Have you ever been underestimated only to prove someone wrong through your actions rather than arguments? Share your story in the comments below. If this tale of professional vindication resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more stories about finding success on your own terms. And if you know someone who needs a reminder that excellence speaks for itself regardless of how others perceive your profession, share this video with them. Thank you for watching. And remember, respect is earned through mastery, not titles.